Hey, folks. Got a quick update from our friends up in Vermont at Sunset Lake Seder. They just released a fresh crop of their sun-grown hemp flower, and they're making the occasion with a special, or I should say they're marking the occasion with a special deal. Right now, you can save 30% on their Hawaiian Haze and their Cherry Abacus hemp flower and pre-rolls. I like these pre-rolls. I started in on them earlier this year than I had anticipated because of the year that we've already had.
The news.
8 days in or whatever we are. 13 days. Hawaiian Haze is a sativa cultivar, really popular with folks who want to stay focused during the day, work on a creative project, or just take the edge off without getting slowed down. Cherry Abacus, however, goes the other direction. It's an indica cultivar, which is more about winding down, relaxing with a book, or easing into bed at the end of the day. I just remember that, in the couch.
Yes, that's what I taught you the other day.
Yep. See, I remembered it, and that was almost a week ago.
Yes.
And this deal also applies to Sunset Lake Seder vape cartridges, which are ideal for situations that require something a little more discreet, as it were. If you want to check out their new crop, head over to sunsetlakesabadeh.com. Use the code NEWFLOWER, one word, NEWFLOWER, 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 all one word, to get 30% off their new crop of hemp flower and vape carts. I have been a pre-roll user for quite some time, like at the end of a nice meal or something like that, or if I'm going to settle in for a Celtics game, even one that they lost last night.
Illegal screen.
What's that?
Pascal Siakam, illegal screen.
Oh, my God. Dude, never mind. I'm not going to get into how many foul shots they took as opposed to the Celtics.
Brian
but the
quit
point
football.
The code, again, is NEWFLOWER at sunsetlakesabadeh.com. The sale runs through January 18th, so you got about 5 days at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. As always, see the site for full terms and conditions. Remember, these guys they have a great product, no pesticides, and their movement partners, sunsetlakesabadeh.com. NEWFLOWER for 30% off their pre-rolls. Now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Trita Parsi, co-founder and executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, on the protests in Iran and the possibility of U.S. strikes. Meanwhile, Minnesota and the Twin Cities sue the feds to stop the ICE invasion taking place there. This, as 4 DOJ officials quit over failure of the Department of Justice to investigate the shooting itself, as the FBI decides to investigate the killing's victim to see if she had any activist ties. Supreme Court oral arguments begin over trans athlete bans in high school and college sports. The bond market, Republican senators, federal central banks across the world freak out as the White House now distancing itself from its investigation of Jerome Powell at the Fed. EPA to stop using lives saved in calculating the value of lessening air pollution standards. Judge strikes down Trump's block of offshore wind projects. A 19-year-old Christianist claims responsibility for burning Mississippi's oldest Jewish synagogue. Gavin Newsom vows to stop California's push for a small wealth tax on billionaires. I repeat, Gavin Newsom vows to stop California's push to impose a small wealth tax on billionaires.
Shout out Rokana.
Eric Adams accused of a crypto meme coin pump and dump and pump. And day 2 of the largest nurses' strike in New York City's history. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Newsday Tuesday.
Newsday Tuesday. Yes, indeed. And we have Trita Parsi here. We interviewed him just about an hour ago. And already things have, may have changed. It's hard to know, but very helpful to understand the situation in Iran. And then we have a lot of news to get to today. We will get to it. Someone's asking about the Liz Warren speech. I think we have a couple of clips from that. We won't get too deep into it right now, but the wealth tax that is being proposed in California, to be clear, is a 5% one-time wealth tax on billionaires, only billionaires.
Yep.
And I don't have my phone in front of me. Can somebody do the math on that? 5% is what? $500,000 for a billionaire?
I don't ask me to do math on
this
the
is
fly.
this is really the wrong place to ask that sort of question. But 50 million is 5% of 1 billion.
Okay, if 50 million is 5% of one.
That's according to homeworkstudy.com.
So $50 million for someone who has 1,000 millions. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm shutting down.
I said without much confidence, but yes, 1,000 millions.
It's just...
Who cares? They're billionaires.
When you have... I got to imagine, like, when you start to get around, like, $200 million, there's no way that the added money impacts your life in any way. It will impact what you own, maybe, but it doesn't impact your life. There's nothing in the world you can't do with $250 million. You can have 3 or 4 $25 million homes. I don't know where you can find that. 4 places where you find $25 million homes. You have your private jet. There's nothing you can't do. You may not be able to own an island, but you can visit it for as long as you want and stay in as nice accommodation as possible. The idea that we should live in a society where we should care what a billionaire's concerns are about losing 5% of their existing wealth. Again, the following year, that's just that is the minimum that they make annually if they didn't have any income other than the investments from their wealth. 5%. You can go out and get a CD if you're willing to do the $10,000 minimum for 4% at this point. That's how much money they make just by having that much money minimum annually.
Yes. Yes.
Miriam Adelson spent $200 million on getting Donald Trump elected. And we're worried about $50 million? But Gavin Newsom has vowed to prevent that from happening.
Good for him.
That's State of Democracy 2026.
Keep tweeting, buddy.
But he is going to show Donald Trump a thing or two if Trump runs again in 2028.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get to what's been happening in Minnesota. And I just got an IM. I just want to say this, a heads up for people if you are in that area. Just got an IM. I just saw this, that somebody from Massachusetts saw, oh, here it is. Bingo dango. Several car carriers of SUVs delivered to Burlington, Massachusetts ICE facility the other day. I'm concerned ICE is going to give Boston the Minnesota treatment.
Stay vigilant, folks.
Folks in Minnesota have been fantastic, but they are dealing with such a level of violence now coming from ICE and Border Patrol, whatever this entire outfit is. Just a bunch of literally jackbooted thugs. Here is Greg Bovino helpfully wearing his Nazi uniform on Fox News.
Showing his face. You know, he's the guy that will show his face because the rest of his minions won't. But Bovino will walk amongst his masked officers very proudly to lead the Gestapo in America. And
here he is on Fox News. We should say it's also being reported that the Minneapolis ICE shooter, that guy John Ross, I think was his name, right?
Yep.
He apparently told his longtime neighbor that he was a botanist, not an ICE agent for the past 13 or 14 years. They should be embarrassed, and they also should be worried about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
And Ken Klippenstein has some reporting on this, that despite the public face, ICE agents internally are a little bit concerned.
Scared little boys.
And they should be. They should be concerned.
Yep.
Because we will not forget. Here's Greg Bovino on Sean Hannity's program.
Oh, I could see that, but you know what? The rhetoric keeps getting ratcheted up, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And you know, now we've had an opportunity to look at that video. There is no ambiguity for anyone with the eyes to see that the individual that ended up getting shot in this case had been taunting officers along with her partner for an extended
Pause it for 1 second.
time.
I mean, I just want you to just pay attention to the way that Hannity does this. Go back, because he is not going to talk about her gender. He is not going to say wife, like individual partner.
Yep.
And they do this because they don't want to remind people that this guy's agent shot a mother in the face at point blank range 3 times, 2 of which where there is absolutely no dispute. The car had already passed, like sideways. He is perpendicular to the car, shot her in the face. A mother of multiple children.
But you have permission now to not feel badly about that geriatric Fox News audience because she's a lesbian and she was taunting them, or she was in a relationship with a woman. That is what the permission structure that he's allowing for there. That's what that video leak was about, showing her partner and the fact that they were lesbians, and it's obvious in the video, to give their supporters an excuse to basically be like, all right, it's one of our political enemies, so we're okay with this person getting shot in the face.
And here he won't even gender. I mean, he is like he is basically trying to dehumanize her by making it as if like they were firing at a target. But go ahead.
To see that the individual that ended up getting shot in this case had been taunting officers along with her partner for an extended period of time. And then you hear her partner say to drive. She goes in reverse and right in the path of an officer. Now, is that justified use of force? To me, that it's not even a close call.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we know.
Sean, we call that means, intent, and opportunity. Did that individual have the intent? Look at those minutes leading up to the shooting, and we will see what I would consider some pretty important intent. Did that individual have the opportunity? Yes. Did that individual take that opportunity? Yes. A 4,000-pound missile is not something anyone wants to face, especially in a split-second decision-making process in a very...
All right, pause it for a second. This means, intent, and opportunity. He learned this from watching SVU. This guy has been in the Border Patrol for his entire career.
Yeah, since the 90s.
He didn't know anything about law enforcement or prosecutions. I mean, this is just shit he watched, SVU or whatever it is. Matlock. Go back just a little bit.
Didn't know his voice sounded like that either.
Intent.
It's not something anyone wants to face, especially in a split-second decision-making process in a very already inhospitable environment. Hats off to that ICE agent. I'm glad he made it out alive. I'm glad he's with his family.
Hats off.
Hats off. I'm glad he made it out alive and is with his family.
Why would you need to emphasize the split-second nature of the decision unless he made the wrong one?
What is the standard that supposed law enforcement, which they shouldn't have the dignity of having that title, but should be held to in terms of making split-second decisions? What's the training for, if there is any at all? Because we have no indication as to what the training even is. This is like immensely important that we make sure that this appropriations stuff in Congress is centered around reining in the ICE Gestapo. The deadline is January 30th. Call your representatives, call your senators and say, we do not want you to vote for any appropriations that funds ICE, that funds DHS, or at the very least, that doesn't have a bunch of guardrails that are put in place, including preventing all of the funds being transferred for detention without any oversight, which normally other agencies need congressional approval. That's not how they have operated with DHS. Congress should reassert its authority on that front. There needs to be pressure right now by the Democratic Party on this budget process, and Schumer doesn't want to.
MS Now reporting that at least 4 leaders of a Justice Department unit that investigates police killings have resigned in protest over the administration's handling of the shooting in Minneapolis. Top leaders of the criminal section of the Civil Rights Division have left their jobs to register their frustration with the department after the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, decided not to investigate the ICE officer's fatal shooting of Renee Good last week. I mean, this was it's not surprising that they're not investigating on a federal level, but the chief of the section and the principal deputy chief and the deputy chief and the acting deputy chief are the largest resignation at the DOJ since February. Meanwhile, the FBI, who are assigned to this shooting, are
investigating the
victim
and her family,
Renee Good, and her family, to see if they have any activist ties. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking to Ken Klippenstein about the implications of the NSPM 7, the memo essentially that expands the definition of domestic terrorist groups.
You got it. It's NSPM 7.
And but that's what's going on here.
Yes. And like when he says that, I mean, hats off to that ICE officer, right? You know what they're trying to do here? They're trying to provoke somebody eventually to take violent action against an ICE officer so that they can justify some sort of martial crackdown. But the other thing that they're trying to do is to make sure that the ICE officers don't feel a little bit queasy about what they just witnessed.
Yep.
To basically say, hey, we will have your back no matter what. No matter if it's on video of you shooting a mom in the face point blank, we will lie to protect you. Go ahead, Matt.
The Ken Klippenstein reporting has them encouraged to canvass their associates to get more manpower into ICE. Like they're having trouble keeping people, even with all of this huge money we've decided to give it, because it's wrong what they're doing. It's illegal. It's fascist.
So we talk about qualified immunity for police officers, which prevents them in many parts of the country from being sued civilly. What the ICE Gestapo standard is apparently with the Trump regime is absolute immunity from all crimes.
That's what J.D. Vance claimed.
Yeah.
total immunity. We'll see. Very important to let ICE agents know that they're going to be found out. There are records. There are records somewhere. They can hide their faces, and they can lie to their neighbors about what they do. But at the end of the day, their name is on a docket somewhere. In a minute, we will be speaking with Trita Parsi, co-founder and executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, on the protests that have been going on in Iran. And in some respects, like I say, we spoke to Trita about half an hour ago. These protests are unprecedented. And we will see what is next. Obviously, as Donald Trump sort of vaguely threatens a potential attack on Iran. Before we get there, a word from our sponsor today. It's not always pleasant to talk about the idea that you could pass away. But for most of us, it will happen eventually. I would say almost all of us. It brings particular implications if you're a parent, if you're a homeowner, if you're a spouse, you're caring for your aging parents. If you're getting up there and you have kids, you may want to start thinking about estate planning. Now, it's very intimidating. The idea of getting a will or a trust is extremely intimidating, and it's easy to put off. 43% of Americans who say they haven't gotten around to making a will yet. I have been there. My daughter is now 20 years old. After she was born, I mean, it's not like I had, an enormous estate, but at the same time, like, who's going to be, a guardian in the event that something happens to, at that time, my wife and I, or, are there special things that I want to have happen, or whatever it is. And it's a huge relief to finally do it. And now it is much, much easier than it was even like 25 years ago, 20 years ago. You can create an estate plan with trust and will in as little as 30 minutes. If you're like I was, you don't know where to start when it comes to estate planning. You can be overwhelmed by questions you might not have the answer to. Well, Trust and Will's online platform provides a step-by-step guided process and offers optional one-on-one support from attorneys in your state. Does estate planning sound expensive? Maybe you're not sure if you have enough assets to warrant a will or trust. Everything has something to leave behind. Trust and Will Estates believes estate planning should be accessible to everyone, so they're committed to making it affordable today and valuable tomorrow. Again, I was very nervous about this stuff. Like I say, I did my will years ago. I had to update it after Saul was born. But I've walked through this process on Trust and Will, and it really is very straightforward. Trust and Will products are attorney designed, they are state specific, and they're customized to your needs. Trust and Will was created by legal experts designed to grow with you. Easily update your plan at every stage of life or transition. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones today, tomorrow, and beyond with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/majority. Get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/majority to get 20% off. Trustandwill.com/majority. We'll put the link in the podcast and YouTube description. Quick break. We'll come back. Trita Parsi, co-founder and executive vice president of the Quincy Institute. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program Trita Parsi. He's co-founder and executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Trita, thanks so much for joining us. A lot of news, obviously, coming out of Iran, and in regards to Iran, there are reports that you've had anywhere from 200 I've seen reports up to 600, 700, 800 people killed in protests thousands imprisoned. Meanwhile, apparently, according to the New York Times, Trump has been in contact with Iran via envoys, talking about the potential of a strike or a deal. Where's the best place to start? Let's, I guess, start with the protests. And I think as of today, my understanding is that the phones have been turned back on, but that's it. But give us the latest as far as you know.
So the latest is that already about 2 or so days ago, the protests started to die down, and now are at a level that were essentially low enough for the government to feel the comfort to reopen the phone lines a little bit, not entirely. Moreover, you had this very, very big rally yesterday that the government itself had organized in its own support. They had not, framed it as pro-government, but actually anti-vandalism protest. And in that protest, you had senior officials participating, walking, and that was a last-minute decision. And it was, again, an assessment based on what the security situation was. Now, having said this, I think it's very important to understand protests have a rhythm in which they go up in highs and then down in lows. Just because you're in a lull does not necessarily mean that the protest actually is over. Nor does it mean at all that the fundamental reasons that gave birth to the protests in the first place have been addressed, and as a result, the desire to go out and protest and object to what the government is doing is over. I would say that it would be a key test to see what happens this Friday. If protests begin again, and if it's at a very high level, or if it really stays calm, that would be an indicator to me. The fact that it's just a couple of days of a lull is in and of itself not necessarily an indication of a new trajectory. We should also keep in mind the government used a tremendous amount of brutality and force. The numbers you cited are different from the numbers that I've heard from the US government, who has accounted about 1,600 deaths. And that may also be an underestimation. There's some opposition outlets that are putting out the figure 12,000. I've not seen any credible sourcing for that, but the USG is putting at 1,600. But also they say hundreds of police officers and these Basij militias have also been killed. And let's say that it's 400 when they say hundreds. I don't know, perhaps it's 200, perhaps it's 500, but if it's 400, we're talking about one police for every 4 protesters. In a country that is not like the United States with tons of weapons around, that's an extremely odd ratio. It does give you an idea that this time around, very much differently from previous protests, there is an element of violence within the protesters, not all in any way, shape, or form, but there's an element of violence within the protesters that we simply have not seen before, and it's very brutal. That in and of itself, both the brutality of the government and the fact that there's an element of violence within the protest may in and of itself be the reason why the protests are dying down, because a lot of other protesters are not coming out when the violence is at that level from either side.
Just walk us through what are the issues that are driving the protesters.
Well, the trigger, of course, was the collapse of the currency, in which you saw traders and shopkeepers going out on the streets during the daytime and objecting to how the government has completely mismanaged the situation. Now, obviously, it's a difficult position for the government as well. I think we have to be fair. They don't have access to their own funds that are in different foreign banks because of US sanctions. And then the currency is under attack and they can't even defend it because they don't have access to their own funds. But nevertheless, they've done tons of other things, of course, mismanagement, corruption that has contributed to this situation. But it quickly morphed into something else, which was an opposition to the regime as a whole, to the Islamic Republic. Because at the end of the day, this is a profoundly unpopular regime. But we've also seen a trend, a clear trend of radicalization over the last 15, 20 years, in which every time there's protest, every time they're clamped down, the government doesn't meet the population halfway, doesn't do things, the next round of protests tend to become more radical, slightly more violent. This time, I think we're seeing a significant jump. Taking note that these protests are almost exclusively at this point taking place at night, when you can't see that well, when you cannot make an assessment of the size of the crowd, when it's easier for those elements within the protesters that want to use violence to be able to do so. This is not what we saw in 2009. This is not what we saw in 2022. So, and that radicalization, incidentally, at the end of the day, is primarily the fault of the government itself. But it is also the fault, in my view, of those who have pushed in the United States and elsewhere for policies that deliberately were designed to make the situation worse, who were pushing for sanctions that have really made the economy absolutely miserable in Iran. And it is the key reason, not the only reason, but the key reason why it is that way. Because their calculation, not all of them that pushed for it, but the ones that designed it, was you have to create such a desperate situation that people feel that they are better off risking their lives, going out on the streets, protesting, and perhaps even using violence, than allowing for any other type of process to take place to have change. So they wanted things to become this bad in order for someone who's sitting in Maryland to be able to be seen as a viable candidate, because he clearly was not a viable candidate and probably still isn't, if the situation was such that a critical mass of the population still believed that there was another way. They have eliminated, they've worked deliberately to eliminate those other ways and then say, now there's no other option but violence, but protests, and even having the US or Israel bomb Iran.
Can you talk about the United States and Israel then? That's a good way to speak about that. You have Trump basically, saying that we're ready, we're standing back to assist, and using the killing of these protesters as if this administration cares about that on principle, as the pretext for potential intervention. But you also have Benjamin Netanyahu being very public about his support for these protests. Now, the people of Iran have seen the images of the genocide that we have. My assessment is that this just makes the demonstrators who are trying to change things within Iran even more of targets for repression, because then the regime can essentially say, you're acting as a US or Israeli kind of foreign asset, and that's usually the pretext for even more violence.
I think that is the way it has played out. I want to make the argument of the other side as well so that people understand that. But in my assessment, that is what has happened. When Trump comes out and says, I'm going to protect the protesters, if he thought that that was a deterrent against the government using violence, clearly the evidence points in the opposite direction. They clamped down really hard and may have even clamped down even harder, perhaps calculating that it is that type of a behavior that ultimately impresses a person like Trump, mindful of the fact that he does seem to have a certain weakness for these type of strong leaders that are willing to use force. But I would point to one piece of evidence that I think is indicative of how it has backfired. In the Iranian system, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, were created because the revolutionaries did not trust the traditional army. The traditional army, of course, had been built up by the Shah's dynasty. So now, 45 years later, the army is still very much an independent institution. And in the past, when the government has tried to use the army or try to get the army to help with clamping down against protesters, they have absolutely refused and said that's not their job, and they've stayed out. For the first time, the army has come out and said that they're going to be involved in taking out what they called foreign interference and foreign terrorist cells inside the country. So instead of seeing that Trump's threat caused defections within the regime, we're actually seeing a consolidation, at least at this point, including measures that we hadn't seen before, which is that the army itself, not just the IRGC, has been involved in some of the clampdown, or at least indicated that they will. And that, I think, is a clear indication that if the intent was to see defections, if the intent was to see that the government would be deterred and not go after the protesters, we've seen quite the opposite. Now, from the other side, the argument that is being made is essentially that the situation is so bad, this government will use any force anyways, it doesn't matter. So the only thing that makes a difference is if the United States intervenes militarily. And, in the past, they weren't making those arguments explicitly. Now they are. I mean, the son of the former Shah is explicitly making that argument and demanding that type of intervention. And they're dismissing the likelihood that the situation could become so bad that Iran would turn into Syria, because their argument is the situation is already that bad. It couldn't possibly become worse. That is an argument that was also used in 1979, and people felt that the Shah's regime was so brutal, there was no other choice but to go out and protest and overthrow it without necessarily thinking through what would happen afterwards. And what happened afterwards was, in many ways, a dictatorship that was even more brutal.
And we should say he is the man you're talking about. The son of the former Shah is the man you're talking about in Maryland, who Trump apparently has said as of today or yesterday, now is not the time to meet with him. I mean, this dynamic of the when, you know, Trump, I mean, we've seen this over and over again with multiple U.S. presidents, frankly, and vice versa. When you have you can externalize the enemy in that way, it brings more cohesion with domestically. I mean, so this is not the first time we've seen this dynamic. It also seems like Trump is, when things aren't easy, he ends up backing off a little bit, maybe to the betterment of the world on some level. So what is your sense of what happens now, or at least what should we be looking for that will give us an indication of what is next?
So according to reports, there's going to be a decision, or there's going to be a meeting at the White House today that will look at different options. I think part of the reason why it hasn't been yet is actually because all assets have not reached the region yet, but assets are being moved into the region. You know, what he decides, I think you put your finger on something very important. He, I think, was sold an image earlier on, because before the protests actually became very big, on social media, there was a massive campaign to make him look as if they were much bigger than they were. And already before they became big, and at one point they became extremely big, but before that, there was this effort to try to say the regime is already on the brink of collapse. I think that was a deliberate strategy to convince Trump that this is going to be easy. Just like you did Venezuela, you just need a little bit of a push. You can get credit for getting rid of this regime at a very low cost. And they kind of compelled them to start saying things such as, I'm going to protect the protesters, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when I think there is a realization that this is actually going to be much messier, the Iranians have clearly signaled that if they are attacked this time around, they're not going to try to de-escalate the situation and just strike back at empty American bases, but they will actually really go after U.S. assets in the region. And that will then be a much messier situation than Trump has dealt with. You know, just a week or so after he said that the Western Hemisphere is really what matters, he would then drag into a much larger conflict in the Middle East. So I think that more than anything else may deter him from taking action, but I think he is adamant about looking as if he is the one that is driving change. I mean, he had this tweet just now saying, urging people to go out and continue to protest, and that he will not meet with any Iranian officials until they stop the clampdown. Well, the clampdown has kind of stopped already. I'm not saying that it won't start again. It may very well do so. But it seems to me that he's more trying to take credit for something that already has happened in order to pave the way to be able to pursue some potential deal, rather than necessarily actually taking action. But then again, you never know, because whatever he says now, he may change his mind, right, and then go in a completely different direction. And he wants to keep it that way. He wants to keep it in a way that no one can really calculate what his next steps are.
Taking credit for something that's already happened would be perfectly consistent with what he's done in the past. Will you just briefly just outline why Iran? Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure that in Venezuela we've seen regime change as much as we've seen sort of like personnel change, frankly, and maybe some decisions on, you know, how much they're going to pay off U.S. oil companies, but the oil companies don't seem that excited. But in terms of Iran, this is not a question of like of one or two people. I mean, there are deep institutions. I mean, you're still talking about the military maintaining positions that it had 45 years ago, and you know, other institutions that have come up since then. But again, now you know the Guard is now 45 years old, or approximately. So will you give us a sense of just like how entrenched the Iranian regime is outside of like a couple of personnel? I mean, it doesn't feel like there's three people that we could, you know, take out and change things there. And where is the population, you know, largely speaking, in terms of support of the regime, outside of the fact that like the the economic issues?
So if you take a look at Saddam's regime, for instance, or Gaddafi's regime, these were regimes that deliberately designed the state in such a way that without them, everything would collapse. They wanted that as a deterrence against any overthrow. So once you did take out Saddam or you did take out Gaddafi, the rest of it just very quickly collapsed. And to some extent, Assad's regime was that way as well. Not by design, but in other ways, the Shah's regime was very similar. 3 Iranian generals during the time of the Shah could not even schedule a meeting on their own just to talk about what they're going to have for lunch next week because the Secret Service would think that they're plotting an overthrow. And then at the same time, the Shah was making all decisions. He kept all critical decision-making, including non-critical decision-making, in his own hands, which then led everything to him. Everything circulated around him. And you had a situation in which people didn't dare to bring him bad news. So the Iranian generals even went to the Israelis and asked Moshe Dayan to go and brief the Shah on the actual situation in the country, because no one within the system even dared to give the truth to the Shah. That's not the current situation in Iran. The current situation with this system, which is a revolutionary government that designed the government to be able to resist a counter-revolution. Power is much more dispersed throughout the system. Undoubtedly, Khamenei is a very critical person in all of this, but taking him out does not necessarily cause the full collapse of the regime. And there will be elements there that have their own interest to continue to try to keep the regime up and in place. Do they have support in the population? They do have a support base. It's been usually estimated to be somewhere near 15 to 30 or 25%. I would say that at this point, it's probably closer to 15, if not lower. And I think every time there's been a major crisis of this kind, their own support base has also shrunk. And I think we saw that particularly after 2022 with the clampdown against the women protests, that there were a lot of conservatives that would wear the veil, but do not believe that it should be mandatory and certainly not worth the kind of clampdown that the government did back then. So their support base has definitely gone down. But it is not so low that it means that it can easily be overthrown or that they aren't entrenched. They are nevertheless the ones that are controlling the security apparatus. So, trying to use a Venezuela blueprint for Iran, which I suspect Trump would like to do, he's high on his own supply and is probably skewing his risk assessment, I think is going to be a bit foolish. I don't know enough about Venezuela, but based on what I have seen, I think it is sufficiently different of a system that blueprint in and of itself is not necessarily a fit unless it is profoundly changed. But bottom line is, what has been sold to Trump, I think, is that this is simple, that this is just a small push, low cost, you can make it happen. This is not a person that in principle is against war or in principle is against regime change. He's just in principle against getting stuck in situations or going into situations that doesn't have a clear exit and a clear, quick path to victory.
Yep.
Lastly, you mentioned the 2022 protests about women's rights following Mahsa Amini's death. Can you give us a sense of whether or not this protest movement built off of that? If these are different constituencies that are coming out? Is there an infrastructure around the resistance that is continuous from that point to now? And can you assess that for us?
Those are great questions, and I don't have answers to all of them, certainly not some of the last part. What I can say, though, it is building off of it, but perhaps in a different way, because these are not the same slogans necessarily. This is a very different touch and feel. As I mentioned, there's a violent component that we haven't seen before. What the way it's building off, though, is that every time you have protests of this kind, and the government's response, by and large, is just to clamp down. In the case of Massa, there were compromises. I mean, the veil is not being implemented in the same manner at all in Tehran right now. The government knew that they lost that fight, but they retained power. But the fundamental situation has not changed. Every time that happens, the next set of protests tends to be more radical and more of the belief that there is no way to actually get change unless you completely overthrow the government, even if that necessitates using force, etc. I'm not saying that's the majority, but that is the trend line that we're seeing, not just from 2022, but all the way from 1999 student protests to the 2009 protests to the 2017 protests.
Tarita Parsi, co-founder, executive vice president at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Thanks so much for your time today. I know you're very busy these days. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much.
All right, we're going to take a
Thank
quick
you.
break. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland, Majority Report. We got a lot more to cover in terms of ICE. I guess we should, we'll do it we're going to go a little long. I guess that's the bottom line. Let's start with what's happening in Minnesota. We're basically watching ICE, as far as I can tell. I mean, they are expanding their violence. And part of it is a function of, I think that the pressure for them to increase their numbers is growing. My understanding is that despite the fact that they've been offering tens of thousands of dollars to hire new ICE thugs, they're not getting as many recruits as they want. They've cut down the training time to literally 5 or 6 weeks.
Good news is they're not carrying any weaponry, right?
Yeah, at least they're not.
Just kidding. They're dressed like they're in the middle of a war zone.
It does seem like they can go just to like some weapon store and pick out what you want. We got you covered. Whatever you feel comfortable with, guys. And reports are that they're coming from Minnesota as far west as Oregon. I'm also hearing from folks who work in the immigration field that they are now going after people who are in the process of having their asylum claims adjudicated. So in other words, they are here legally. They have done no crimes. They have done no violations. They have followed the law. And the law is, if you apply for asylum, you get a hearing. You get, they adjudicate that claim. People who are in the process of that now are getting rolled up. Here is ICE, though. And again, this is, we've talked about the Kavanaugh stops. We'll talk about it more. ICE is going around. They're walking through parking lots. In this instance, they're walking through a charging station for EVs, presumably looking for Uber drivers or Lyft drivers or other rideshare drivers. And they're looking for ones that are not white. And that's how they are deciding as to whether they go up and approach people for their ID. Now, look, you are not obligated to give your ID to ICE. They are border enforcement or they're immigration enforcement. And you're not obligated to do that unless they have probable cause. And the fact that you are black or brown is not probable cause. Now, of course, a lot of people want to avoid getting beat up and a lot of people don't know their rights. And so this is what's going on. But watch these guys just patrol this. I mean, it's so grotesque.
Looking into cars. Papers. Hand over your papers. There you go.
Just want to point out all the people with whistles in the background.
Yep. Your papers, please.
Your paper. I mean,
it really did sound better in the original German.
That's in Casablanca, right?
What's that? The Casablanca.
Well, I mean, that's the phrasing, but whatever. I'm but not to be downplayed at all. Obviously, it's deeply authoritarian and scary, and it's not hyperbolic to compare it to the Nazis. It's not.
Of course. I mean, that's what they're doing. And now they have decided, and it's particularly worse when Bovino goes around. I mean, there's a reason why you see the greatest amount of violence when Bovino's there, because then all these losers who work for him and are so embarrassed by it that they cover their faces with masks. They need to show off and provide him with some violence so that he feels good. He needs something to go back to his hotel and get some R&R with. So the thoughts of the violence provide him his release at the end of the day, I guess. But here he is going into I think this is a Target, and this story has come out in bits and pieces. But apparently, what happens is there is an observer there at Target. I don't know if the guy worked at Target. I think he did. And he saw that ICE is coming there. And so he's like recording them. And then they all basically gang tackle this guy who's an American citizen. We have this in 3 parts, and ends up getting beat up and just left out on the side of the road.
You doing all right?
Huh? I'm not doing all right.
What's that?
I'm not doing all right. I'm not doing all right.
I can't hear
Back
what
up.
you're saying.
Yo. See that? Go to the recording. We're here. What y'all doing? Yo, back up.
You good? What's that? You good? Oh, absolutely.
Your face.
Absolutely. Oh, back up. I'm walking here. Back up.
Like that. Good show.
Hey, that's not a nice guy.
I don't fuck.
Good.
Fuck you and fuck all
I didn't
y'all.
realize how small Bovino
Hey,
is.
you guys American
Anyways.
citizens?
Fuck you.
Huh? None of your business. That's what.
There's a wall there.
Fuck you.
All right.
See that?
Getting his phone out.
And again, what they're doing when they do that, is they have a database, and they're either adding you to that database as just as an activist, or they're comparing your picture to a database that assesses your immigration status or your citizenship status. Again, not whether you've committed any crime, not whether you've committed any civil violation. If you are here and awaiting asylum meetings, you are here legally. All right, continue. Just getting my app
Blocking
together,
traffic.
guys.
Look at that. Bunch of y'all right there.
Again, this part is the big tech boondoggle of the fascist takeover of our country. There's contracts for all these companies that are providing this, and they should be protested as much as these brown shirt thugs.
We should also be clear, this is not investigations. This is not enforcement. This is, I'm going to teach you that you can't make fun of me. This is
Big Brother puffing his chest out.
Exactly. This is like the baby bully on out at recess. I'm going to show you that I'm the one wearing the uniform here. This is about as like small men story as you can possibly get.
And in stature.
Bunch of y'all right there. Fuck every single one of y'all. Look at that.
Just gonna get a pic. Hold on.
Go ahead, take a pic right there.
All right, let me get one of this guy here.
Right here.
Appreciate
That.
Fuck you. Huh? Fuck you. Come on. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Hey, don't touch him. Don't touch him. What are you doing? Come on. Yo.
I work here, bro.
Yeah, he works.
Fuck you.
Look at that.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Or what? Fuck you.
Look at that. Look.
Now look at that.
Look at the driver.
There's not a single thing that guy is doing other than swearing at that thug. Not a single thing he's doing.
He's walking
He
away.
did not initiate contact. He is walking backwards throughout the entire process. This guy just doesn't like being made fun of. And All right, continue. So they grab this guy. You can see they jump this guy.
In the Target and the
Teenager,
entrance.
right? This is the
Apparently,
teenager?
he's a teenager.
Don't
yes.
tread on me, free speech, all that bullshit that we've heard for years now. That you're keeping me from mocking trans people.
Or the fact that you had to get vaccinated and maybe had a card to enter some businesses at some point. This is literally people going around asking for people's papers and the boot of the state beating people up for daring to document the human rights atrocities that our government's engaging in. Oh my God.
Look at that.
6 of them? 5 of them? Oh yeah.
You guys are all on video. No, take my phone. Hey, they got my phone.
7 feds around this kid.
I think they grabbed the other guy too. At this point.
8.
Hey, phone worker. What's your name? What's your name?
Jonathan Garcia. I'm literally a U.S. citizen.
Give us a phone number.
U.S. citizen. Get the fuck out of here, Ray.
Why are you kidnapping our citizens?
In there.
Why are you? Why?
Sir, give us your phone number. We'll call your family. Give us your phone number.
Jesus.
Wait, you want your family to know?
I literally have my passport. My fucking passport.
Let him get out his passport.
What's your name? What's your name? We'll find your family. Christian, what's your last name?
All right, there's that tall guy is now claiming that he was assaulted by the guy that he initiated contact with, that he tackled.
Family. Christian, what's your last name? What?
Hey, get back there now.
Give us what's the phone number we should call?
Okay, so he gives his phone number.
That's my mom. That's your mom. We'll call you. And your first name's Christian, right?
Christian
Romano.
All right, now we're going to go to the third video where after the guy has been left out, right?
No, there's another part.
This is number 9, right?
No, part 3,
okay.
9.
Yes, number 9.
They found the teenager 8 minutes away. Some
This
people
started at Target parking lot. They brought him, dumped him in a Walmart parking lot.
That's the most American thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, the
Apparently,
whole story,
I mean,
Not much infrastructure we have here.
here he is, and he has visible injuries.
This guy right here, they let him out of the vehicle. They tortured him. This guy right here, yeah. Tortured. You okay, man? No, I'm not okay. Bro, shit's crazy. My man's bleeding. Bleeding. They slammed me on the ground. We gotta be able to call somebody. This is ridiculous. You got family around? You got somebody here, man? I think I'm going. Come on, we in here. Come on, man. You work here, don't you? No, I work at Target. You work, bro. Come on, bro. It's okay. That is so crazy. Man, slam this man up in the parking lot. Torture this guy.
He's 17, apparently, so that's a child. That's child abuse, and we're seeing abuse of prisoners, of female detainees, assault, and they're holding migrant teens at this facility. Some of the migrant teens that they've rounded up in Pennsylvania that's been known and has a documented history of sexual and physical abuse. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose.
How do we, as a country, how does our elected leaders allow for squads of fully armed and masked men to go around, abduct teenagers, American citizens, for simply swearing at them, put them in the back of a car, beat them up, and then dump them 10 minutes down the road.
Law enforcement.
How is it that we're allowing that to exist in this country? That's what we have now. I mean, you just saw, like, you know, who knows how many more of these there are. We know that there are a dozen occasions of people being shot at by ICE agents in the course of their duty. And we only have good video on a couple. We saw when they murdered somebody. But how many of these instances do you think exist? That where we have footage from where the guy's being dumped off 10 minutes away, we watch as a 6'5" masked, buffed up ICE agent tackles him for swearing at him. You mock me, I'm going to tackle you. We're going to beat you up. We're going to shove you in the back of a car, and we're going to dump you on the side of the road. I mean, what the? This is the shit that we would talk about, like, you know, with, and soon, right? Like, how far off are we from, we're just going to dump the dead body on the side of the road? This is like the stuff that we would, like, how dare we finance this shit in Central America?
How many deaths have happened in Alligator Alcatraz, and what's gonna and how, what it will change?
Four people detained in by ICE in immigration have died in 2026.
Yes, 32 people died in ICE custody in 2025. It was the agency's deadliest year in over 2 decades, and we still don't have full transparency about that. How do we know? How do we know? It's a complete black box. They're blocking members of Congress from going into these facilities and checking on the conditions.
You had to have people staking out Alligator Alcatraz, checking for ambulances coming and going.
And nearly 75% of the people held in detention have no criminal convictions, as they talk about these being criminals. And as there were a lot of people who took this at face value, I mean, we got to repeat this. Who led us down this road of fascism? It's the members of the media and the Democrats that thanked ICE or took this administration at face value and said, they're just going to go after the criminals, which, by the way, was the Obama deportation regime. That's what he prioritized. We knew exactly what they were going to do here.
Why are they going after people that are showing up to their hearings to try to get naturalized as citizens? At first, I thought it was just because, you know, they know the schedule and they can get it out. There's another reason, and you just have to remember that ICE agents are cowards. And that is when they go into courthouses, they are checked for guns.
Also, ICE's budget now is equivalent to Israel's entire military budget, I believe. So, I mean, the point is that this is the imperial boomerang in many ways. This is fascism coming home. And if you're going to oppose Zionism and you're going to talk about that as the, like, existential threat that it is in the genocide in Gaza, you also have to oppose when those same systems are used here on Americans. And I don't care what your citizenship status is. These are Americans. These are our neighbors. And these are the exact tactics you see in the West Bank as well.
Let's go to...
like, I'm just sorry, but with the killing of Renee Good, like, the way that this is like a kangaroo court situation, this is what happens with Israel and how they kill Palestinians. It's here now.
Look at the Democrats who thanked ICE. And just look at that list and then just pick a name at random and see if they took money from the Israel lobby.
Here is ICE, who essentially grab a man at a gas station in St. Paul for videotaping them. Again, it is legal for you to videotape. It is legal for you to swear at ICE agents. You're not allowed to impede them. But if you're walking backwards and they're just strolling around Target, it's not clear that they were doing anything there other than going to the bathroom. Here is this is footage in St. Paul.
Get back! Get back!
Yes, sir.
Get
Yes,
back!
sir. Yes,
Get
sir.
back!
Don't touch me, though. Don't touch me. What?
Get
Don't
back!
touch me.
Get
Don't
back!
touch me. Don't touch me.
Hey!
Stay back.
Texas patch on that pig's arm.
Hey, you gotta do that back up. Back up. Back up.
No training at all.
These are just thugs. These are just thugs.
Can't regulate their emotions.
Scumbag thugs.
Yep, and their faces are covered too because we are going to find out eventually who many of these guys are. And when the administration is posting recruitment videos that have like literal Nazi and Proud Boy signifiers in them, you know who they're appealing to. Stand back and stand by. That's what Donald Trump said about the white nationalist group, the Proud Boys. And they have stood by and then waited for their opportunity to get hired as the Gestapo to break apart families and brutalize teenagers. And that's what they've been doing over the past, I don't know, few months.
Here is another instance of ICE illegally attacking an observer who is doing nothing. This guy's in his car. There's no impeding here. They just can't find anybody else to harass in that moment.
They smash his window.
Again, there is no claim that this person was undocumented or any of that. Look at it. He's giving him a chokehold, and now he's going to put his knee right on his shoulder. This is in his neck. Incidentally, it is illegal in Minnesota to do this for very obvious reasons.
Yep.
And this is a guy who is on the ground getting his a knee to his neck because he dared to videotape ICE.
And this is what we're saying about what they're trying to provoke here. They are trying to provoke a response so that they can use the Insurrection Act. That is the goal.
It is now January 13th. In 18 days, 17 or 18, my math is bad, there needs to be the budget deal comes to a head. The House passed some spending bills for some agencies. Unclear how the Senate's going to deal with it. They may take up these separate bills. The House was going to vote sometime this week on DHS's funding, but they have held off on voting on that specific agency because of what's going on in Minnesota, with the idea, I guess, that maybe things will die down a little bit. Chuck Schumer is desperate to just pass whatever funding is, the Republicans want to pass in the Senate, so that he doesn't have to exist as a political player, because he believes that if we do nothing as Democrats, we are more likely to do well in the elections. Now, of course, that is absurd. And aside from it being just a bad strategy, increasingly you see Democratic approval ratings drop along with Republicans because people are waiting for Democrats to do something. And we know the polling from the last government shutdown.
Yeah.
And we can see the polling today for what people are saying about ICE.
There was now YouGov skews a little bit more to the left, but this is now YouGov Economist just came out this morning. It's a plurality opinion. 46% support abolishing ICE, according to this now, versus 43% who oppose it. And
that's abolishing ICE.
Abolishing it.
Never mind saying we're not going to okay funding for a rogue agency.
That is absent any real national messaging from leadership on this front. That Chuck Schumer's problem is that local law enforcement should be doing a better job of collaborating with ICE. This is absent messaging from the opposition party. This is entirely organic, and we've seen that it can get it can dissipate as quickly as it comes. You could seize on this opportunity to actually fundamentally abolish the agency, but that's exactly the point. I see Matt going like shrugging because
Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer.
Hakeem Jeffries and Jeffries. It's ideological. It's ideological. And
this is the. I'm sorry, like building up these kind of walls and this sort of hatred of the other. It is a Zionist behavior, and they can't do it.
But it also means that but Schumer's hopefully a dead man walking a little bit to a degree, and you can put pressure on your lawmakers regardless to build this up to the point where we could hopefully abolish the agency. Do you want me to just? It is a good opportunity.
Well, here's the low hanging. Here's the low hanging message that exists.
Okay.
This is super obvious. This is number 6. Here's AOC again. So easy at this point in terms of the messaging. So obvious, and she's so far the only one who's delivering this explicit message. I would imagine we are hours, if not, we are days, if not hours away from hearing other Democrats now realize, oh, this is the messaging that's going to work. And essentially saying, I'm sorry, Jeffries, I'm sorry, Schumer, I'm not going to go along with just rubber stamping this budget.
And before people get upset about her phrasing here, she's already clarified that she continues to support abolishing ICE. She's talking about cutting it here specifically in reference to the appropriations bill. She clarified that on Twitter this morning.
Government funding, we're about to run out of money. What should be the red lines when it comes to ICE funding? When it comes to DHS, should there be policy or reduction in funding? What should be the options?
I mean, in terms of which deadlines line up with which goals, that's a tactical decision to be made. But my position has always been clear that ICE funding should be cut. We're seeing what they're doing with this reckless explosion in funding, and mind you, just so everybody knows, I want everybody to understand. The cuts to your health care are what's paying for this. All that extra money that everybody's paying right now in their premiums, all that extra money that you're paying, it is paid for it is all of that extra money that the government and the ACA subsidies that was given to nearly $1 trillion in healthcare was taken out and given to ICE. So understand how these dots connect. You get screwed over to pay a bunch of thugs in the street that are shooting mothers in the face. That is what this administration's doing. That's what the Republican Party did.
The messaging doesn't get better than that.
That's
and
exactly
people
it.
complaining about what, I mean, come on. It's unbelievable. The idea that a politician shouldn't message to like the people, like, I can't even begin to entertain the idea that people have an issue with that.
Yeah.
That is the message that needs to be adopted. But the reason why Chuck Schumer can't say that is because if Chuck Schumer says that, then he has to hold the line and actually not just rubber stamp the budget for DHS when it comes up for a vote. If Jeffries also echoes that very obvious messaging. You have two things that are happening right now in this country in terms of like, we have an affordability crisis that is most acute at this moment when it comes to health insurance. And most acute in that sector with people who with ACAs, but of course, who had ACA subsidies. But of course, everyone's paying more for their health insurance because of this. And we have an explosion of fascism where we have thugs on the street attacking people, teenagers for swearing, and observers for videotaping and shooting people in the face. for trying to protect or make immigrants aware of ICE's presence. And she has wrapped it up in a bow with about, in less than 90 seconds.
Yeah.
For the messaging. And the Democratic leadership cannot use that incredible gift that they've just been given because they are so desperate to make sure that no one knows that they exist as a political party in this moment.
And the copy paste that messaging for Israel funding too. This is a question of priorities by our government. And the people fundamentally understand that they're getting screwed. And the question is, what are our tax dollars going to? It's not going to improving my life. It's not going to changing the cost of living crisis. It's not going to my rent. It's not going to my wages. It's not going to my health care. And you can say it is going to the secret police here in the United States, and it's going to fund a genocide in Gaza. And whoever is able to make that message simple for people, and we can shift that money away, claw it back, and bring it to you for your life, for childcare, for health care. If you can harness that messaging, you'll be the candidate in 2028. No question. No question.
The idea that there's like this hostility to big government, and then the Republicans send fascists to shoot people in the face, and Democrats are still afraid of doing single payer. It's crazy. But I don't know if we want to draw this connection even more finely. Wesley Bell was asked by, I think, KSDK News about his vote to thank ICE last year, and his response isn't super impressive. If we just want to run this real quick.
Former Congresswoman Cori Bush pointed out your vote to thank ICE or express gratitude to ICE last year.
That resolution was about a thwarted terrorist attack in Colorado. That's all it was. And so, unfortunately, that's how the DC machine works with messaging, is to try and misconstrue meanings and things of that nature, but that's what it was about.
Okay, okay, you still voted for it. I mean, look, everybody gets the idea of like you put certain things into message bills and this and that, but what was it, 75 House members?
Yep, 75.
Okay.
To thank ICE.
Which means that over 125 Democrats didn't. And this is simple, like you just want to look at this like it's success for politics. It was so obvious that ICE was going to be a problem, that ICE has been a problem. So obvious. None, maybe somewhere there's a video of somebody going up to one of those 125 plus Congress people who did not vote for that. Are you against the thwarting of terrorist attacks in Colorado? Because if we just take him at his word here, then what he's guilty of is absolute political malpractice.
Yep.
And it's political malpractice. None of this is in any way surprising. The whole reason why we wanted Chuck Schumer to shut the government down the first time, and he didn't, was because it basically paved the way for the big, beautiful bill. Politics is about momentum. When they have a tiny, tiny margin and they feel like they have impunity, they have brought the Democrats to their knees, which is exactly what they did in that first budget fight. They brought Chuck Schumer to his knees and had Chuck Schumer waddle up on his knees and hand it to them. They were far more able to maintain discipline to vote for that big, beautiful bill that put almost $1 trillion into ICE. I mean, this is so obvious.
For an administration that J.D. Vance was saying, we don't have the luxury of due process because it's such an emergency. Okay, give them $1 billion and not how much? Sorry, understating it, and then not even push them on the due process thing.
We are 6 months away. Well, actually, now I guess we're only 4 months out from when Chuck Schumer said, "Well, according to my plan, it's all going to fall apart by September. They're all going to abandon Trump." Well, they might abandon Trump. Maybe Bovino will be their candidate in 2028.
Yeah.
But it ain't getting better.
But that's
and it's not going to get better with Chuck Schumer saying like, okay.
But even embedded in that is the myopia and the malpractice of focusing purely on electoralism. Like, I mean, it is just unbelievable how they basically are just white knuckling it to the midterms. The American public be damned. Like, why do you think that people don't support the Democratic Party and it's as unpopular as Donald Trump right now? It's because they refuse to stand for anything, and they make it so obvious that they're so nakedly self-interested.
But you know, if their self-interest was in any way,
but it's not tethered to reality. Yeah, but they want to eke it out and they want to win on their terms. That's the problem too.
Yeah, and his terms are antithetical to what anyone should be.
Right. And on their terms too means this dereliction of duty, of leadership, of reining in DHS, of
I
ICE.
was talking to Bill Ackman, and Bill Ackman had a point. I mean,
the number one donor to Jonathan Ross, you
well,
mean?
10,000's not much for him. To be fair, $10,000, he's a billionaire, Matt. I mean, come on.
Couch cushion change.
Come on, he just found that. That could have been like his per diem for his dog walker. All right.
Warren and all those folks, hurry up. Get him out of there.
That Warren speech seems to be an indication that they're trying to make a move, but as we
Move with
implored
boldness.
last,
We'll play some of this.
that, yeah. But as we implored last week, like, it's got to happen. I mean,
there's only so much of a move you can
Yeah.
make if you haven't been able to convince other senators. And so, clearly what they're doing is, and she's coming public on this, is creating that pressure so that other senators come along on board for this.
I get it.
All right. We got to take a break. We're going to head into the fun half.
Can we just
yes.
promote this? Just because, to wrap up our arguments here, I saw this. The National Immigration Law Center has a really easy tool. We'll put this in the link below to implore Congress to do what we're actually asking for. You can input your name and address and stuff, and it will send it to your legislatures. But you can just scroll down a little bit. You'll see what the asks are in the template. Keep going. It's here. So it'll enter your name, and then it says, I urge you to refuse to vote for the appropriations bill that increases funding for ICE. Also said you have to demand that they strengthen restrictions around ICE and Border Patrol's ability to conduct dragnet arrest operations based on their race and accent, etc. Ends Border Patrol deployment to our cities. Also, this is important, limits DHS's reprogramming and transfer authority, including specifically preventing reprogramming and transferring funds for detention, because it's a slush fund here. DHS transfer funds usually require for other government agencies approval from Congress, but because this Congress has given carte blanche to the Department of Homeland Security, they've been just shuttling around funds, also to Donald Trump's buddies as well, for mass immigrant detention, and that's where that money has been going. So these are kind of very basic asks that you can just use here and fire off an email to your representative.
Also, while you're at it, you can use this as a template to call your representatives and tell them the same thing. And if you actually took this and wrote it out in freehand and mailed it to them, it would be worth literally 600 people in your district. They've done it. That's the way they have these calculuses. A form email counts for so many people that you represent. Phone call more. An email that you would write that would be not necessarily a form letter, but would be more. And to write freehand at this point means that you represent some astronomical number of people, or if it's rational. There may be other they get letters that are maybe not so rational, but all right. Just a reminder, your support is what makes this show happen. So you can become a member by going to jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half, and you can IM us. We're going to take phone calls in the fun half, and I'm going to turn it on just when we go to break. But I only want today, we got 1 hour left. We're not going to take too many phone calls. Only want Minnesota people. Only want Minnesota people for today. And then maybe we'll have a day this week where we're not allowing any Minnesota people. But today we want to hear from Minnesota people on the ground. 646-257-3920. We'll be right back after this. Oh, Matt, what's happening on the Matt Leck
Media
Universe?
Yeah, Left Reckoning coming up right after Majority Report today, talking with Mo Tachik about her piece on Marco Rubio, who turns out to have deep state narco trafficking connections that coincide with Iran-Contra and the JFK assassination, which I am ashamed that I had no idea about until I read Mo's piece. And also a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Marco Velez in Texas. So check that out at patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
Okay, we'll be right back.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt. What is up, everyone? Nomi Key.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry. Women's
Stop talking for a second. Now let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? This me?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello, is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you?
No sound. Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports.
We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Who libertarians?
They're so stupid, though.
Common sense says, of course.
gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge Matt.
I'm positively quivering.
I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-35-501. 1/2. 3/8.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
6, 5, 4, $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
You can call it satire. Sam goes, it's satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like
Yeah.
everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the weak being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. We are back. I got to wait for my computer to restart to get to the phones. So bear with us on the phones thing.
Do you want me to read some IMs? Or?
Well, let's do. I guess. Let's hear from Donald Trump on what is the reason why this mother of 3 should be shot in the face. They seem to be getting a little bit nervous about the idea, perhaps, of keep telling people that what you've seen over and over and over again on video is not true. That she was some dangerous person.
A domestic terrorist.
A domestic terrorist. Now they've just moved to like, well, if you're going to be rude, You may get shot in the face.
This is where Trump acts. He does this repeatedly. He did this with Venezuela. Well, you'll see that he gets off of the messaging they've agreed to. Narco-terrorists. That's our pretext. That's our pretext for bombing Venezuela and taking out and kidnapping Maduro. But Trump will go out there and say it's for the oil. Their line on this has been that she used her vehicle, Renee Good, the mother who had just come back from dropping off her kid, as a weapon. By the way, apparently like gonna leave her wife out, made that split-second decision and just gonna leave her wife out there after, going to kill this ICE officer. That's what they want us to believe. It's just absurd. But they've basically said, the Republicans, he was in fear for his life and she was gonna ram him with his vehicle. And then Trump says exactly what the reality is.
Do you believe that deadly force was necessary after watching all the footage a few days have passed? What's your assessment there?
It was highly disrespectful of law enforcement. The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing, they were following for days and for hours. And I think, frankly, they're professional agitators.
But just disrespect.
And I'd like to find out, and we are going to find out who's paying for it.
But just disrespect.
With their brand new signs and all the different things. But these are professional agitators, and law enforcement should not be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous.
That's a tell there that ICE is unpopular when he has to say law enforcement, not just ICE.
And also, I mean, he's indicating there, I mean, this is before we had the story that the FBI is investigating her activist ties. As a professional agitator in her Honda Pilot, essentially, that she was
with
there.
With toys all over.
I mean.
And the dog in the background.
It is, I think this is going to be difficult for them to push too. I mean, there is a certain amount of panic on the right now because they realize, I mean, I think some of them are actually sort of surprised that maybe people aren't on board with this stuff, because I do think that we're in a moment. Weirdly, I think that Rob Reiner was a moment where Trump shed some of his support, but I also think this is really hurting them. Yeah. And they're not going to show it. But here's Greg Gutfeld on Fox News. Again, this is the line that they are shifting to. That this isn't, none of this was real. It was all manufactured. It was all astroturfed. Nobody really cares about this stuff. This woman was clearly a professional agitator. You could see all the professional accoutrements she had there.
Her and her friend. I mean, I'm sorry, but never has Trump sounded like an old man than referring to a lesbian partner as a friend. It sounds like, were they roommates?
Friend of his.
Yeah.
But here is Greg Gutfeld trying to justify. They're working overtime to justify why this woman deserved to be shot in the face 3 times and orphaned her children.
There's also the video that shows the car blocking the street for a good 4 minutes, Greg.
We are all falling for the game. Everybody's going, this is so confusing. I don't like it. It's so chaotic. That was the point. The whole point. Nothing's going to be clear when you create deliberate chaos. So we have to sit here. We are actually doing exactly what they want. None of it matters. What happens at that moment
Pause it for a second. I want you just as he's espousing this, who's the they?
I know.
Who's the they here? They control the House, they control the Senate, they control the Supreme Court, they control the executive, they control the largest paramilitary organization in this country's history. Who's the they? Is the they this couple in their Honda Pilot who were able to sow chaos, so chaotic that the shooter, this footage incidentally, is from the shooter, from the killer, as he strolls around and has his iPhone out there to presumably, I don't know, take records of this one person in this one vehicle that is literally waving cars in front of her.
Didn't even drop it as he murdered her. Apparently she didn't hit him, according to them, hard enough for him to even drop his phone.
He was able to switch his hands in time to get to his weapon.
Maybe drop the phone if you're going to use lethal force on somebody.
None of it matters. What happens in that moment is not what we should be talking about. In my view, again, let the investigations proceed. All this
Pause it
criminal
for 1
analysis
second.
is-
Incidentally, there are no investigations. We've had 4 resignations from the DOJ because the federal government refuses to investigate. The only investigation that's going on now from the federal government is into the background of that driver to see if, when she was driving, I mean, look at the video right now. Pop it back up.
Yeah.
You can see the front of her car. There is a half of the street is not blocked.
Yep, but when they're also harassing her family. The announcement also says that they're investigating her wife and members of her
They're
family.
looking for any dirt, and any sort of like protest activity they've done before will be used
She
as
has unpaid
justification.
parking tickets.
Agitator. That's why you can kill her.
A waste of your breath. You know, I use that term "awfuls" in humor, the affluent white female liberal. Well, that comedy turned to tragedy because it was egged on by people who only use these women as props. They put them out front because
all right. You only use these people as props, says the Fox News host. Did they still have clear desks so you can see their fucking legs? I mean, I'm sorry, but God, he said something there and I forgot. I got so mad. Dang it.
Women
the affluent. She was also the affluent white female. What are they talking about? I was reading her professor speak about her. She was a working class mom that was struggling to get by and like was taking her time after dropping her kid off to stand up for her neighbors.
As props. They put them out front because visually it's a great statement when they get touched by a police officer. They do this in all protests. You shouldn't be mad at ICE. You should be outraged at those who foment these moments with the purpose of leading to chaos and death. All these videos contain white liberal women. Why isn't anybody talking about this? Screw the fake empathy about the dead mom.
He say, hold on. The fake empathy about the dead mom. Nice. We have shown the videos coming out of this are very often about just you couldn't get a broader mix of people who are being assaulted by ICE, either as observers, male pastors, Somali Uber drivers, Latino Target store workers. I mean, he's just making all of this up. It's really just because he and his audience live in such a cloistered world that they don't ever see any of this.
They used to do this about protesters against Israel too, which is to say they were either like one step away from Hamas or affluent white kids that don't know the real world.
But the woman part is key here because he's projecting. They use white women as props all the time. The Laken-Riley Act was supported by you guys. The Laken-Riley Act, to use this as a pretext to go after immigrants more broadly and say that immigration is what killed her.
The woman killed on the bus.
Okay, yeah, and I'll dig into my own experience about this. When I spoke about how we shouldn't summarily execute people on the subway for having a mental episode, there were a bunch of right-wing accounts that elevated that, and Ben Shapiro, of all people, covered me. I didn't know he had any idea who I was, because I said that I don't want to be a prop for violence. And I don't believe that I don't feel unsafe on the subway. God forbid. And the amount of reaction that I got from that was insane. And it's because of this. Because they want people who look like me to be purely objects for fascist license, because this is as a tale as old as time. I mean, even like the Israeli genocide, also they use these kinds of tactics with the screams about words. But it's also about lynchings in the South, white women being used as props for fascist violence, racialized violence, Emmett Till, over and over again. So they released that video of her partner because they wanted to give license to say, you don't need to feel bad about this. Normally, this blonde white woman might be an object of fascist propaganda, but not today because she's a lesbian. So you don't have to feel badly about this.
She's got a friend.
Also, I think they're using white as just a way to get a pass to the misogyny. So it's like nobody.
And by the way, yeah, in a normal situation, this would be a hate crime because he was clearly triggered by her queerness and clearly triggered by her gender. And that was obvious about it. Obvious. So of course, yeah, the guy who I don't want to get into his background, but he's
arguing with his family about the Proud Boys.
Yeah, he seems to be quite uncomfortable with basically a woman standing up for, to him.
I mean, he called her an effing bitch after he fired 3 shots into her face.
From all these mayors and all these talking heads, if they had sincere empathy, they would ask that question. If you had sincere empathy, you would want to ask, why are there so many liberal white women who instead of spending time with their kids are risking their lives and breaking the law, for strangers who are here illegally? The real compassion
Pause it for a
comes
second.
from the people.
Okay, for strangers who are here illegally. She was not breaking the law. She was simply not. I mean, you could even see in this camera shot, like, her car is 3/4 parked in a white loading zone.
Spending time with her kids. She just dropped
her kids off at school.
But, I mean, she must be a bad mom, too.
What's this dude doing at work?
What was Ashley Babbitt doing?
Where's his kid with his kids?
Why wasn't Ashley Babbitt with her kids?
All these conservative white women
who've been pointing this out, who've been warning that this is going to happen. It doesn't matter to the people that, clearly, it's not going to change the mind of people on the left. You can show them any video they want. They're going to sit there and just meticulously do all this stuff. Oh, but did you see this? Oh, but you did that. Did you see that? Then you show them another video. Don't waste your breath. They are selling you a lie. It's been around forever. This was all a setup. It may not have been her. Maybe they were hoping for a black woman, probably. It would have been better if it was believe me, they are not unhappy this mother is dead. She is being used. The goal was to get somebody killed. So
they are not happy. They are, what did he say? They're not unhappy that this woman was killed? This entire segment is don't feel bad, audience.
Yes. You're feeling bad. Don't do it.
Exactly. Don't let the doubt creep in.
Exactly.
The oldest trick in the book. Limbaugh was doing this 40 years ago.
Yep. Right. So it's all that lead up is just about giving, all these indicators. You shouldn't feel bad for her. This is all manufactured. They don't really care. So you shouldn't feel bad about the fact that you don't really care and that you might be a bad person and you might need some introspection. This is for like literally for children. It is about coddling the childish emotions of their right-wing audience.
Yep.
News. The goal was to get somebody killed, create a spectacle that explodes. So you have riots, so you have protests, and hopefully, in some minds, revolution. A lot of these people, they're not against ICE. They're against all law enforcement. They will not change their mind. They will continue to do this. We know the game. Especially if there's a Republican in power, the game plan of chaos and violence will be hung over our heads as a political extortion, basically saying, if you want this to stop, you need to elect a Democrat. But Trump was voted in by Americans who wanted an end to illegal immigration, and their response was not protest, it's chaos. They don't want you to fix the problems. This is their way of fixing it, and it's complete and utter destruction.
We know that a percentage of people who have been detained and abused by ICE have a criminal record. We also know that in terms of creating a spectacle, there's a reason why you cannot see more than 3 ICE agents without a guy with a long lens, professional film camera shooting their exploits. I mean, it's just a delusion. And the thing is, it's going to work because 85-90% of the people who watch Greg Gutfeld on Fox News get no other outside news other than from Fox. So that's it. That's all they will see.
But speaking of the playbook that it goes back decades and decades, this is the National Park Service Viola Liuzzo Memorial. Selma to Montgomery National Historic Trail, goes into Viola Luza, who was an activist that was murdered by Klansmen, including an FBI informant who may have pulled the trigger. And then the FBI promptly went to smear her as not caring enough about her family and caring too much about like drug addicted black people. This is the actual playbook that we've been dealing with since like people like my parents were in diapers.
All right, we're going to go to the phones again. Only want phone calls from Minnesota today. Calling from a 952 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Is this me?
It is you.
Can you hear me okay?
Not great. It seems
Hold on. Let me
okay.
do one thing here.
All right.
How about now?
Yeah, that sounds great.
There we go. So my name is Mike. I'm from St. Cloud, Minnesota. I don't know if you guys had seen recently, they just had about 60 to 100 ICE officers at like a strip mall on 33rd and 3rd. Our state representative, Eric Putnam, was there, and they had all of these agents out there for just one guy. And I know we were talking about AOC saying this is your tax dollars going from healthcare to this, but like there's 100 so officers just sitting in a parking lot doing nothing for one guy. Like that's your tax dollars hard at work right there.
Yep. They're putting on a show. They're putting on a show for, maybe it's for Miller. Who knows who it is for? Maybe the rest of the country, but appreciate the phone call.
I actually, before I go, had a run-in with them at the Walmart there myself, where I asked them for a warrant signed by a judge, and they didn't provide one. They almost tried to cuff me, so I, ran around a car and threatened to call the police on them. So I did that. I called the police and was very loud about it, and as soon as they heard me, they all got in their vehicles and took off. They were just harassing some guy that was putting his groceries in the back of his vehicle. But I was told by the 911 operator that if you are at a business, that they can't do anything for a civilian complaint, but that if you see them at a business, to immediately tell the manager, because the manager can then call the police for trespassing.
I see.
Because it is their property.
I see.
So I just wanted to let people know about that as well, because that was one thing, like, me being a civilian, like, okay, let's,
if it was on your property. If it was on your property, they could react to your call, right?
Yes. But since it's Walmart's property, it's their business, they have to call. So,
I mean, this is a good idea for people to start sending emails, calls to the management of the local Walmart. Make it the local one, and demand that they post signs, no ICE activity here. Private property.
Yeah. Just like what happened at the Target with the 17-year-old kid.
Yep.
And he was working or something.
Yeah.
Like.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a good day, guys.
You too.
One more comment on the kid that came out and the sort of horrifying way he returned crying, but I just want to say, like, good on him for having the backbone to stand up and get in those people's faces. Like that, I'm so impressed that people are doing this stuff.
Calling from a 612 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Bullprog from Minneapolis.
Bullprog from Minneapolis. What's on your mind?
Oh, similar story this morning here. Even similar to yesterday of like 30 to 40, immigration alphabet boys showing up to grab one person from a car, and the neighbors coming out and standing up and getting tear gassed and pepper balls and all of that good stuff.
Are there any organizations that you're familiar with that are organizing around this stuff?
Oh my God, there's like so many. I have to like keep my sanity. I'm just plugged into my hyper local groups right now. But yeah, I'm out there chasing them on my e-bike with a trailer and a bucket in case they shoot tear gas. I can put them in a bucket with some snow and extinguish them.
Sweet.
Badass.
Awesome. Full problem.
And yeah, they're driving around in our neighborhoods. They'll have a big group of people around a number of vehicles, but then they'll have some other vehicles going around the surrounding area, still trolling, trying to find people. So I gave them a good run the other day, zipping in and out of different residential streets and icy alleyways, and gave them the what for. So yeah, we're giving them hell out here.
All right. Appreciate the call. Thanks.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Calling from a 952 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, is this me?
It is you. Well, who's this? Where are you calling from?
All right. This is Sam from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am an elementary teacher. I sent an email yesterday. I am a first and second grade teacher in a first-ring suburb, live in inner city Minneapolis, and I have students that aren't coming to school because their family and they're afraid to leave their apartments. The parents are afraid to leave the house. We have staff members going and dropping off supplies at people's apartments and homes and making supply runs. And we have, ICE agent goons, walking down my street every single day. Our neighbors are out constantly doing patrols. And the reality is just, they are the ones creating this chaos. This is not Minneapolis protesters. This is ICE and their intentions. And we have kids, we can't even send our kids to recess right now outside.
And they're coming on the schools. I saw there was a confrontation at Roosevelt High School. I think it was yesterday. In fact, here's some footage. We just got about 20 seconds of the students walking out of class because ICE was there, I guess, last week. This is clip number 30.
That was in relation to the where Jesse Ventura was, and this is the walkout subsequently.
Go home, ICE! 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 ICE out! When do we want it? Now! When do we want ICE out? When do we want it? Now! When do we want ICE out? Now! Go home, ICE!
I'm curious as to how your students are reacting to this. How old are the kids you teach?
I teach first and second grade. So, some kids, my immigrant students, they know for sure.
Right.
Like the day after it happened, I had this, 6-year-old young girl come up to me and say, yeah, my mom and I saw that video and talked about how she had conversations with their family about it. She's the one that's not at school the past few days. And in the why she's gone, it says for safety concerns. And, so some kids really have no idea, you can tell. And then some kids, they have no choice but to face the reality that they might come home to their parents being gone.
Yeah, we played that video of the DoorDash thing yesterday. I saw some people. I don't speak Spanish enough to know what she was saying, the driver, but apparently she was when she was interacting with the ICE agent. She was saying you separate families, and he was saying no, we don't, and she was saying you're lying.
Mentiras is lying.
And
yeah, they had already taken her son.
Yep.
Before that.
Right. So that's when you say they don't know if they're gonna go home and their parents are gonna be gone or one of their parents. No, that's the actual truth. And keeping kids out of school like that, it's just about at a certain level keeping the family together if you get rounded up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
We have an IM Pizza Dog is asking, how can people help the schools deliver supplies? My St. Paul neighborhood high school is taking grocery store gift cards. I delivered a bunch yesterday. How can people help out? What can people in the community around there do to help those in the school who want to help families who are, afraid to leave their homes?
Yeah, I think just reaching out to local school administrators or the buildings and just seeing what their need is. Because I know it's very unofficial at my school. We just have, random staff. A lot of the English as a second language teachers are doing it, and people that speak Spanish and these other languages that these families speak. And so they're the ones kind of making the contact. So it's pretty informal, I know, across the board. I think there's local organizations and churches that are more like formalized, like food runs and food donations. But even just like looking into, church groups around the city, social service groups, reach out to the schools and see what kind of needs they might have if they, come drop off gift cards or non-perishables or whatever it is. But just kind of tuning into the local churches and schools and seeing what they need and what kind of programs they're running.
And what's your sense of how concerned the administration of the school is being perceived as protecting the families?
No, I mean, I luckily am in a district that's very, prides itself on being as progressive as it can be, and pretty, and they're taking it very seriously. We had a meeting the first, on Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon, and talked about the game plan on how, if we do have these students not coming to school for the foreseeable future, how are we going to provide them with an opportunity to continue learning? Are we going to send iPads home? Are we going to create digital learning possibilities for them? And my principal is fantastic. So we feel supported here, and we were able to really kind of debrief and talk about all this stuff, and very emotional, obviously, for a lot of the teachers. And most of us have at least one student that isn't coming to school.
Right.
So it's just completely unprecedented, and coming from it's like pandemic, pandemic, being a teacher was a crazy, we've never done this before. And now we're at this new whole thing, this terrorizing thing that we have to deal with. And
well, appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, of course. Love the show. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Let's just play this. You want to do this clip? Because this was, I mean, this isn't related to ICE per se, but it definitely shows how how receptive politicians are to public pressure.
I think this is a preview of what a lot of primary races are going to look like. This is Nancy Pelosi's seat. She's retiring, and her handpicked 1617. Her handpicked candidate is this state senator named Scott Wiener. Now we've had we had Saikhat on.
We had Saikhat
Chakrabarti on.
Yes.
A little while ago.
Must have been a while back.
He started running before she'd made her retirement announcement. So he was trying to get ahead of it. He's the more progressive candidate in the race, a former AOC staffer. But the Pelosi handpicked guy, the state senator, endorsed by her, he had previously, been very much supportive of the Israeli government. Just to give people a sense of what his positions have been since October 7th. He opposed San Francisco's ceasefire resolution at one point. He visited Israel on a state lobbying trip last year. You can see him photographed with the president of Israel. He was against BDS, but most notably, he lobbied to get the Sonoma State University president, Mike Lee, put on leave, because Mike Lee, not the senator, the president of this California university, decided to listen to Students for Justice in Palestine and struck a deal with them because they were demanding that the school divest from the genocidal state of Israel. And he was a part of the pressure campaign to get that guy put on leave. So just to give you a sense of where Scott Wiener's politics have been for the last 2+ years of genocide.
Officially protecting it.
Now, this is on January 8th. This is a campaign event. You will see 3 candidates up here. Scott Wiener is in the middle. You have Saikhat on the left, and then Connie Chan, who I'm less familiar with, another candidate in this race, on the right.
Looks like I know enough about what I need to know about her with this.
This question is asked: do you think Israel is committing genocide?
There's a couple of questions. This is a question before it, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And okay. So this is right.
Just you'll hear the questions. And
Here it
get a
goes.
sense.
Gotcha.
Okay, go ahead,
So.
Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza?
Go back to the beginning.
That's the start of the clip.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza?
So Wiener refuses to answer.
Yeah, for
podcast
folks just
audience.
listening, the two, Psycat and the other candidate, both say yes pretty immediately, and he just kind of sits there.
Yeah, there was another question beforehand that gave you a sense of how they answer things, and like the idea that like if there was any thought of like maybe he didn't hear the question or
Right.
he wasn't he didn't think his card I needed a third option on my card and it was too thin if I saw it that way.
So he's just like fiddling with it. I mean, not even gonna answer, bro. But
And here he is. Then what is it? 5 days later.
yeah, 3 days, I think. Either
Apparently-
way, less than a week.
To be fair, they're on the West Coast, so dawn lights a little later than it does on the East Coast. But here he is. On second thought,
For those of you who saw the debate clip from last week, I want to clarify that I do believe Israel has committed genocide in Gaza, and I want to explain why I hesitated at the debate. For the past 2 years...
pause it for a
I have
second. I just also want to make it clear that is not, hesitate doesn't mean what he thinks it does.
Right.
Freeze
up and
hesitate
refuse
would
to
mean
answer.
it took me a second and then I held it up. That would be hesitate. But when you never hold it up, that's not hesitating.
Neglecting to.
That is, I didn't register this belief. Go ahead.
the debate. For the past 2 years, I have harshly opposed Israel's escalations in Gaza, and I've used phrases like total destruction and catastrophic levels of death and moral stain. But I haven't used the word genocide, and I want to explain why. As a Jew, I am deeply aware that the word genocide was created in the wake of the Holocaust, which was the industrial extermination of 6 million Jews. For many Jews, associating the word genocide with the Jewish state of Israel is deeply painful and frankly traumatic. But despite that pain and that trauma, we all have eyes, and we see the absolute devastation and catastrophic death toll in Gaza inflicted by the Israeli government. And we all have ears, and we hear the genocidal statements by certain senior members of the Israeli government. And
Pause
to
it.
me,
Okay, there's a lot of like hair splitting going on here. Certain members of the Israeli government, yeah, some of the most powerful ones, like the prime minister, and also like the guy who's in charge of the interior and in charge of all of the West Bank,
Finance
and the guy
minister.
who's in charge of all the money, the finance guy.
Those certain ones.
Oh, and the president. Yeah, he's a figurehead, but nevertheless. Good.
the Israeli government has tried to destroy Gaza and to push Palestinians out, and that qualifies as genocide.
Well, here's the thing. There's actually scholars on this, Israeli scholars, non-Israeli scholars, who have said it's been a genocide for an extended period of time and defined by acts of genocide that are committed. And yes, it is a real bummer to be associated with that. It sucks. It almost makes it more important in some ways to speak out about it.
And Raphael Lemkin, who coined the term genocide, he was Jewish, and it was in the wake of the Holocaust, but also the Armenian genocide, and he wanted to prevent future Hitlers, broadly speaking. Like, the idea that he would have isolated it to just the Shoah is a misuse of that concept.
And I guess he did an interview with The Atlantic that was published today, and I'm not necessarily sure if his, like, this statement had come out at the time, but he was asked about his non-answer at the very least in that interview. And in The Atlantic, he said, or this is the paragraph, he, referring to Wiener, links these purity tests to medieval tropes that define good Jews as those who quietly obeyed the authorities and bad Jews as those who were too open about their identity. Today, he sees Jews being pushed out of progressive circles based on similar judgments. If part of your Jewishness is, you know, that you support the homeland of the Jews and the home of 1/2 of all Jews on the planet, then it makes you a bad Jew. If you're not willing to use the exact language that we want you to use, then you're a bad Jew, which is incredible because he's flipping the reality on its head. Jews who have spoken out against this genocide have been excommunicated by their communities, by Jewish institutions, blacklisted. They were called anti-Semitic, weak, soft, you know, all of this stuff. It's the exact opposite of the reality.
I'll tell you something. I can tell you which direction the texts have gone in the context of my family.
Yeah.
And now, granted, I'm here on my show, so I have my platform. But to the extent that there has been any of that in my circles, it has come in the absolute other direction. And it is extremely pointed and not as academic as he makes it sound that he's been excommunicated. He's basically saying that, like, I didn't want to be like one of those capos.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently he spoke a little too soon with that Atlantic interview.
Did he think this video was going to help him in any way?
Right.
Did he hit stop record and go, that should clear it up?
Yeah, who is this hitting for?
but that's really where, I mean, we don't need to see the rest of this. That is like what is important about this story is obviously this is a very deep, like a very blue district. It's San Francisco, but there are other really blue districts around the country, and this is not just going to be limited to blue districts. You have like moderate candidates swearing off AIPAC money. I mean, that's the floor at this point. And
imagine the pushback that he must have gotten to do this in that many days. I mean,
yep.
And even like you know, like let's just let's be clear, it is a complete political calculation for this guy. You know, there is another way where you can imagine, like, it has been very, very difficult for me to come to grips with this. And I've finally been forced to actually face this and actually think about it. And, you know, you can make an argument. Listen, I'm happy to have anybody come around to the correct perspective on things. And you could have said, like, you know, and there's a whole long story you could tell.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that.
Nope.
He just sort of like parsed and was very careful with his words and made it seem like the real problem is the Netanyahu administration and some very few, you know, I wouldn't call them backbenchers, but you know, and so he's trying to dance around it. And I don't know who that convinces in any way.
Or also like how if I were to say this truth, it would be painful. Tough shit. I don't care. Also, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Aren't you a leader? Like, leaders are supposed to say painful truths. That's kind of the definition of it.
There's a model for how to do this, and it's Samuel Sewall's apology. Samuel Sewall was a old leader in the colonial government of Massachusetts, and he eventually had to apologize, and was the first to do so for his role in the witch hunts. You have to say, I am actually sorry for what I did. And Scott Wiener should say, I'm sorry for my participation in the persecution of people who were opposing Israel when I was too cowardly or morally like not there to do so. Like, I don't want to hear like, oh, now I've come to say the right words. And the first thing he said was like, look at the harsh words I've said before. I don't care about the words. I care about your actions as a politician.
And because also
I said the word destruction.
Yeah. Duh.
I'm being harsh right now.
Total destruction.
I said the words total destruction.
Yeah. It was more incumbent upon you to speak up about it being a genocide because it was ongoing. It was ongoing. And it still is ongoing. I shouldn't even speak about it like that. Of course. We're going to be speaking about that on Thursday with our guests. But that is where it's like they're, you know, talking about how it's painful means that you are willfully blinding yourself to a reality where if you were to speak up little by little, it could have stopped said genocide or curbed it. It was more incumbent upon people to call it a genocide when it is ongoing versus with history giving you some sort of cushion to feel like, oh no, this is morally indefensible now. And I definitely would have been against it at the time.
Yeah, you failed, but next. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
There's two other options right on the stage. Go away.
Yeah.
Take some IMs for 1 second. I have
Okay.
to just step out.
Okay. I'll go to the bottom here because Sam's computer may have lost those, so we'll try to get some. The mill rind. It's very sad to have to admit we're getting very close to a full deck of cards matching present day personalities with their Third Reich notable counterparts. Wayward leftist. Gavin Newsom's son is a huge Charlie Kirk fan. How can we expect him to lead the country when he can't even lead his own household?
Gavin Newsom is an enemy.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody listening to this show knows that.
Bad or worser, EPA really just giving up the game by disregarding lives saved and only calculating cost to industry. Yeah. 00711 protesters put on your long johns and show that Minnesota's resilience to the cold. Remember, Nazis don't do well in extremely cold weather.
I mean, they really don't
There
do
you
well with
go.
ice.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, but
Definitely not. Cameron said, I have a hard time seeing how a wealth tax is a bad thing, especially for big tech. Everyone knows asset value is not the same as liquid value, and as a result, it's often far greater than the cash the holder is able to get in exchange, yet the power held by those people is rooted in asset value. I have an extremely hard time seeing it as,
the complaints that they make to try to sound technocratic, like, oh, these are unrealized gains.
Right.
Guess what? People pay property taxes the exact same way. If they're so smart, they can figure out an AI to figure out how they can pay their fucking taxes.
Oh, is that the issue on the
tax.
the wealth tax and unrealized gains,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera? There are multiple ways, in addition to property taxes, where you can. I mean, how do people sell companies?
Right.
How do you sell companies? There's a formula for establishing market value. I mean, that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You get taxed on your house. You're not selling your house. You tax on it, property taxes all the time, every year.
Here's the CEO of the richest company in the world, NVIDIA, which I have some criticisms of, and which is kind of fun. Basically, one of the main pillars of the AI bubble. But here he is asked about this wealth tax, and I think his answer is good.
The industry and those of us that live in California are reviewing the billionaire's tax. The question that a lot of people submitted to me to ask you is, how does that impact that talent pool and the industry and Silicon Valley? Is it something that's of concern to you, or it is not?
You know, I gotta tell you, I haven't thought about it even once. We work in Silicon Valley because that's where the talent pool is, and we have offices all over the world wherever there's talent. We have offices. We have office in Germany. We have office in all over the world, and so we chose to live in Silicon Valley, and whatever taxes I guess they would like to apply, so be it. And I'm perfectly fine with it.
I mean,
saying I am so rich,
because
it's insane.
Well, yes, but that's the point of a billionaire tax. Is you are so rich, it's insane. And the 5% of that wealth that you would have to kick back is completely immeasurable. Let's put it this way. If we were to hide your balances in your assets from you and take that money, you would never, ever, ever know it.
Yep.
You would never, ever, ever know it. What? I can't afford to fly to Mars? Are you serious? Why? I mean, like, you only have 95% of your $1 billion. And incidentally, the next year, because of that 95% of the billion that you get to keep, if you do nothing and just keep it in a savings account, just to be ridiculous, you'll get that money back.
Yep, it'll accumulate.
In 1 year. In 1 year.
But that's the point is it's really at a certain level, when you're at that level of wealth, it's just a dick measuring contest too. I mean, these guys
And these guys are sensitive about that.
Elon Musk, no way. It's about power accumulation. And you've said this before, like, taxing their money and removing it from them, it would be better served by just burning it than allowing them to have it because it diminishes their power. But that's exactly what they don't want to happen.
Cristobal had this reply to a tweet that Bill Ackman has since deleted. I can't remember what it said, but it was him whining about this well tax. And Cristobal said, right, to be honest, he's trying to save your asses. You're just too dumb to see it. The bottom 50% of Americans hold only 2.5% of the wealth. Do you really think this is a healthier, sustainable situation? Roe calls the wealth tax an anti-revolution tax, and he's absolutely correct.
100%. It's bare. I mean, it's bare minimum.
Yep. I mean, I think if you got a problem with 5%, let's try 10%.
We'll raise it. It goes up 5% more every time you complain about it.
You want to play a game, Bill?
Calling from a 612 area code. We're going to try and move through a bunch of these calls quickly. 612.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is Jake. I'm in Northeast Minneapolis.
Jake from Northeast Minneapolis. What's happening?
I was just something that I've kind of just noticed with like a lot of sort of the immigration that happens in Minneapolis is that we get a lot of support from like a lot of religious institutions like Lutheran Social Services, etc. Like they actively work to resettle refugees, and they're very involved in that. And I guess I always just kind of found it odd growing up here. Like I always hear about like how religious people are like super conservative and narrow-minded, and that just never really was the case where I was. And it just seems like I'm curious if there's sort of like a resentment maybe like towards like almost like how there's the resentment towards Renee, a white woman getting killed by ICE, like this weird conservative resentment, like how dare this white woman, almost
race
like
traitor,
you're
race
betraying.
traitor.
Yeah, and it's like it's just I don't know if it's because we just have different flavors of religion up here. Like I mean, like a lot of Lutheran, some German Catholic.
I mean, Elon,
Northeast has like
a year ago, Doge was going after Lutheran refugee and immigration stuff through Doge.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not saying that these religious people are like full-blown commies or anything, but they just seem to skew more liberal. And
well, the white people there come from a more like disproportionately a more like Nordic style of politics too.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
not to
Lutheran. Yeah.
I mean, that's my that was my dad's religion,
yeah.
Lutheranism too. So like it's a little bit familiar to me, but it's it's less evangelical Southern Klan stuff.
Yeah, Southern Baptist is
say,
slave Baptist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, because I did spend some time working a job up in St. Cloud, kind of, for whatever reason, the German Catholic, I think it's mainly with like abortion, but they're a little more conservative. But at the same time, they don't have that same sort of like negative view towards immigrants that like maybe like the stereotypical religious people that they'll like I don't know, the way that it's portrayed sometimes in like media and stuff. And like, I guess the other thing I wanted to point out really quick. So
Gotta be quick. Gotta be quick.
Okay. Yeah. Like, just, shouting out the Somali community. I was in Cedar Riverside. I lived there for a few years by Augsburg, and, they really came together after George Floyd, and I've had nothing but positive experiences with them both. There's a small community up in St. Cloud, and there's a community, obviously, Minneapolis, and yeah, it's just bullshit what's happening to them.
Appreciate the call.
Everything.
Thanks. Calling from a 773 area code. Gotta be quick.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I got to get off my headset. All right. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yes. Yes. It's Wade from Minneapolis, DSA member up here. Just wanted a very quick plug. There's a lot of good work going down on the ground. We're working in coalition with a lot of other leftist organizations, immigrants' rights organizations, MIRAC, UNIDOS, TSL, Sunrise Movement, all sorts of people. It's been pretty harrowing and tough to be at work during this time.
Yeah.
We're working on like educating our coworkers, our neighbors and stuff. I've talked to people I haven't talked to in years, trying to get them plugged into local response groups and stuff. But it's I will say it is heartening. It's heartening, even on a even on weeks like this, like the wildest last month we've had in a long time here and stuff. But yeah, no, there's for people that want to get kind of like well, not involved locally, but if you're not from the Twin Cities, there are a lot of churches doing food delivery, like that previous caller was saying. One of them is DHH Church on the south side there. It's Dia de los Ois, something like that. And they've been doing a lot of good work getting food to families that are too scared to leave right now. I think they're easily findable on Facebook, and then there's donation links on there and stuff too. But yeah, just wanted to shout out some local DSA organizing. Thanks you guys for putting this on everybody's radar.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wade.
I'd love to hear that.
Calling from a 218 area code. Who's this? Where you calling from? We're only taking calls from what I understand to be Minnesotan area codes. 218. Who's this? Where you calling from?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Art from Duluth, Minnesota.
Art from Duluth. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm a longtime listener. I've been following the show since like 2015, 2016. Rest in peace, Michael Brooks. And I've learned so much from you guys, so thank you for that. I used to live 10 blocks from where Renee Good was murdered. So I kind of, I knew that neighborhood, lived down there for 14 years. Now I'm up here in Duluth, and there has been sightings. I haven't seen any ice myself, but I don't get out much. But yeah, we have a big mall up here. They raided that, or at least they were present there. But I'm trying to get more involved locally and listening to city council and stuff. And there's immigrants in my neighborhood, and I got my whistle by my front door. And if I show up, I'm going to go out there and record them and yell at them and ask them if they have a judicial warrant. I'm going to just try and do more locally, but you guys earlier in the show brought up, sorry, I'm a little out of breath here, but about how do we allow this to happen? And when I talk to friends and family about current events and all this, and the first thing that came to mind when you said that was the DNC and the Democratic Party. And, these terrible presidential candidates that we've had that kind of set the stage. And I was watching iHip.
I've had it.
Yeah, they interviewed Elizabeth Warren yesterday. And, I think it was coming from a good place, but the elephant in the room was Israel, and it didn't even come up. And when they're talking about, how do you give credibility to these leaders and spokespeople when they take Israel AIPAC money? And then, so when I was talking to friends and family, they're like, how did this happen? And I'm saying the Democratic Party failed us. And they're just like, what? And they're all like, they claim to be centrist liberals or not even progressive, but on the left. But they're listening to NPR and PBS all like religiously, and so they don't really get the full story. But you do from you guys, and some other outlets. I don't have to name them all.
No, but appreciate the phone call. Gotta jump.
Yeah, I mean, I think Israel was the final straw. The real problem was, which Chuck Todd admitted, was that they completely blew the recovery. And instead of getting a new deal out of the 1929 type situation, we got a tech Silicon Valley fascist apparatus and millions and millions of people thrown out of their homes and becoming basically combustible material for fascists.
The fundamental problem with the Build Back Better was that the Democrats, Joe Biden in particular, but you can see it in the context of Chuck Schumer, is that they thought that what the American public wants is to see bipartisanship, as opposed to what the American public wants is what they actually want.
Yeah.
And, we had said this at the time. Following the American Rescue Act, The Republicans had no idea which way was up. They literally were debating Dr. Seuss. And instead of saying, we're going to do this reconciliation bill September 10th or June 15th before we go on recess, Biden said, well, let's hear what the Republicans have to say and give them a month, 2 months. Then let's see what Portman and Sinema has to. He waited on his signature piece of legislation for Kristen Sinema. So obvious at that time. Huge mistake. When you got Donald Trump just passed half of Project 2025 in 11 months with a narrower majority. Joe Biden had it, and he let it go because they have a misunderstanding of what our politics are today. And Chuck Schumer is indicative of that. Calling from a 651 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. You got to be quick. I want to get a couple more in. 651.
Okay. So I'm going to keep my name to myself because I live less than a block from where the shooting was. I just wanted to give you guys an update of what's going on the ground here and a little bit of the practicalities for anyone that's in Minnesota who actually wants to get involved and is in kind of the South Minneapolis area.
Great.
So every day since the shooting, within 2 blocks of us, we have had a raid. It is very clearly intentional. I think comparing and contrasting kind of the experiences of people in other cities that have had ICE raids, where whenever they give trainings on ICE observations, they talk about how maybe there are 2 to 6 officers. Now it's odd to see less than like 5 vehicles. And so the numbers are just drastically increased. They're very clearly systematically hitting this neighborhood over and over to kind of try and wear us down.
Are you guys posting videos of this?
Yes. We're taking lots of videos. I know that the neighborhood is showing up. Like, there's never been a time where we have not been on site within 10 minutes of seeing an ICE vehicle.
Where do you guys post these? Do you know? Is there like a central clearinghouse?
So I know that there are some organized groups. I don't want to be too specific about like putting any of that information out there. I will see if I can't reach out and find like a Proton link that maybe I can pass to you.
Yeah, and see if there's like a YouTube account that people post to, or a Discord channel that maybe they get floated in that Discord channel and then they make their way to YouTube.
Well, I will say that both our tactics and ICE's tactics are already evolving. I won't go too much into the details right now, but getting regular updates about things that, like, we hear updates as like ICE vehicles are leaving the Whipple building, going out on patrol. An example is they've now started putting bumper stickers on their cars so that they're less obvious. Because it's easy to tell their vehicles when they're brand new and they've got out-of-state plates and they're nice and clean. And so they're looking to try and disguise themselves a little bit more. I do want to bring up something that I have not seen the media mention at all, which is asking the question, why was ICE specifically on our street in our neighborhood on the day that Renee was killed? And I am pretty sure it's because they were organizing to try and do a raid at the dual language elementary school that's 2 blocks to the west. On the day after the shooting, as ICE agents arrived, I was on site with a couple of friends the entire day, and we ended up migrating over to check out the school. And there were several vehicles that were on the street directly adjacent to the school just to the north, and we had observers kind of pin them in on either side of the block.
And this is an elementary street school. This is an elementary school.
Correct. Yes, it's an elementary school. It's dual language immersion. We have a lot of Latino families in the area. And one of the things that happened is you may have seen that the Minneapolis School District canceled classes for Thursday and Friday because they were worried about these threats. However, they did require teachers to come in so that they could be debriefed. and there was rumors, I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but there was an increased ICE presence on the day immediately following the shooting, seeming to indicate that they were going to target the school to try and target the teachers as well. So it's been kind of a constant threat. One thing that I've found is kind of, I don't know, disheartening but not surprising, is that a lot of this information about even the intensity of the raids doesn't even make it out to the suburbs. That they're aware that things are going on, but you don't know that, like, I have a routine now. I get up, I make my tea, I go yell at fascists, and I come back and work in my office. And like, it's every day. It's every few blocks in South Minneapolis. If you do want to get involved, I know the other caller mentioned MIRAC. MIRAC is doing kind of larger organizing, and then a couple of larger protests. There was the one that was on the news that was at Powder Farm Park, and MIRAC organized that. If you want to get involved more locally, go talk to your neighbors. A lot of us are in more decentralized groups, and they're specifically so. And the best way is to go and talk to the people that live next to you. I think that can't be emphasized enough, that like this resistance kind of has to come from the inside out. Like, you have to take care of your household, and then take care of your block, and then take care of your neighborhood. I can't go running across to North Minneapolis when I've got people that are raiding 2 blocks from me.
Well, if you can send us a Proton email, do so. If there's anything that you think that we can do to help, I mean, you know, sometimes
just
having
talking about it is great.
If you need a third party to launder stuff, whatever it is, let us know. Let us know.
Okay. And I am a regular listener, so I may try and call back in a few days and
Definitely.
continue to update you on the situation.
Okay. Well, really appreciate
but I'm going to let you go. Thank you for all of your help.
Appreciate the work you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much.
People are mentioning these ICE agents leaving from the Whipple building, which is a bit ironic because Bishop Whipple was the first bishop of Minnesota who was, you know, I mean, they're somewhat paternalistic with regards to the missionary work he did, but earned the like a nickname, something like Straight Tongue from the Ojibwe, because he basically tried to keep America honest about treaties and sort of like that. And most famously, there's this picture here that happened in 1862 of the concentration camp of the Dakota people, which happened after an uprising, which is pretty much like an Al-Aqsa flood type of revolt against the American settlements who were starving them. Whipple was able to lower, it eventually led to the largest mass execution in American history. 38 Dakota were killed. Whipple had negotiated Lincoln down on that from like hundreds.
Wow.
All right. Let's take one more call. I know we got to get going. Oh, wanted to remind people that, you know, you don't have too much time, I guess, to get there now, but we have a link from yesterday's show to the exhibit that is happening with some Palestinian children artwork in, I think it's on 26th Street in Manhattan. I think it's only on for a couple more hours, but just wanted to mention it. All right, I think this is probably the final call of the day. Calling from a 612 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Timothy.
Timothy?
Can you hear me?
Yep. You calling from Minneapolis?
Yeah, I live in North Minneapolis. I'm a assistant pastor of a small church here, and I'm a volunteer observer. So I've been driving around occasionally trying to record ICE as they've been violating people's rights. And I actually witnessed a U.S. citizen being abducted by ICE on Thursday morning. This made the local news, but I recorded this. He was in the parking lot of the local Hy-Vee supermarket, and they had just followed him there. And then the ICE vehicle I was tailing kind of coordinated and met there, and they arrested him. His aunt was in the car. She informed them that he was a U.S. citizen. There was a local police officer from the city of Robbinsdale there, and I told the officer, this is a U.S. citizen. You're allowing them to violate his rights. You're breaking your oath. And he just told me to get out of there. So, you know, the police are, in some areas at least, are very complicit with what ICE is doing, more interested in protecting the rights of ICE officers than of citizens.
And why do you think that they apprehended this guy? Was it completely random, or was it what were they acting upon?
Yeah, well, it comes out later that they just started following him in his car. Looks Hispanic or Latino. He has the last name Ramirez, but he is a U.S. Citizen, born here, and his mother is actually indigenous. And so, he's more American than I am. But so they just profiled him. They didn't get any documents from him. I actually saw them throw his wallet when he tried to hand his wallet to them. And so it was really just, it's becoming increasingly clear that ICE officers are trying to increase their numbers because they're getting performance bonuses. They're trying to meet the president's demands of X number of people arrested regardless of their status. And that actually takes me to another thing. I was an immigration worker for 5 years. I've been volunteering with local refugee resettlement agencies, in contact with Lutheran Social Services, as one caller mentioned. The director there has informed me that at least 4 refugees have been arrested by ICE. Refugees have permanent legal status in the U.S. They are permanently guaranteed the right to work. ICE should have nothing to do with them unless they have they murdered someone or whatever, or are running drugs. But one of them is a 50-year-old Somali mom that she opened her door and they just took her. Another is a mom of a 7-year-old and they took her. There's a man in St. Cloud. ICE came and knocked on his door and covered the peephole, and they said, "We're maintenance." He tried calling his landlord, and then they said, "No, we're immigration. We just want to talk about your case." And he said, "No, I'm not going to talk to you." And then they said, "Okay, we're ICE. We're going to kick your door down if you don't open the door." Thankfully, he didn't open the door, and they left. And so there's intimidation, there's lying, and they're arresting illegally refugees. And 2 of them have already been sent to Texas, so they're really hard for their caseworkers to talk to them. There's chaos. That's what they're operating on, is chaos. And so what I've been telling my friends, my refugee friends, my immigrant friends, is carry at all times documentation, photocopy, at least, of your status. But honestly, if you can avoid going out, avoid going out. Our church is delivering groceries to people. I really appreciate the last caller who said, talk to your neighbors, give your neighbors your phone number. This is a grassroots situation where we need to support each other because the government's not supporting us. Local government is slow to act, although the AG just finally filed a suit against the federal government. But they're not responding.
Is there any talk of I know that Jacob Frey said we can't arrest the ICE killer, but is there any talk that the state is going to bring charges or has begun to investigate?
Yeah, I haven't. I think they're trying to. They're trying to do their own separate investigation, but the FBI is taking it over. So, they can kind of drag their feet or even just push this away. But I do know that Keith Ellison, from my understanding, and others are trying to do their own independent investigation into that officer. And one other thing, if you see anything, report it to the ACLU. ACLU is collecting accounts, if they can, videos, that kind of stuff, because I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits coming.
Yeah, I would imagine. Hopefully. Well, appreciate the work you're doing there, and thanks for calling in. Hank.
Yeah. And one. Go ahead. One last thing: if you're a Muslim who's like a lot of these Somalis, if your family member is taken, contact CAIR Minnesota, CAIR. They're collecting, and they're trying to collect lawyers and others who can get people out. That's my last part. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Folks, you can also use our Discord as a resource. If for whatever reason, obviously start with your neighbors, start in your community. But if you're trying to reach other communities or other people in different parts of the town, if you're in Minnesota or and you have some ideas of best practices, go into the Discord, share it, because it's not going to stop in Minneapolis. If you're in Charlotte and you know best practices as to what you guys did to drive out ICE. It's obviously, escalating, and the resources that ICE has is increased, but share this stuff. All right. That is the program for today. I'm going to read 3 IMs, and then we're going to get out of here. Is me. I work for the largest background verification company on the planet. We process all of the hiring for the major driving companies, Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, etc. All of them are verified for working legal status and thorough background checks.
Yep.
Kowalski from Nebraska. As someone who still identifies culturally as a Lutheran, it's nice to see the legacy of German Lutheran immigrants who fought the Confederacy out of principle alone is still choosing to stand against the modern-day slave catchers. God is on our side, so who could stand against us?
Yeah.
Number 13, another horrific thing about fascism is that it spreads genocidal ideation. I truly want all these anti-humans evaporated. I cannot tell you the level of anger that I had yesterday coming home after the show. This is gonna be a problem.
I got a headache, I think, from yelling at Greg Gutfeld.
After the show is always my worst time. If people want to check my tweets, like the heat map for when I'm most aggressive is when I'm walking home.
Matt told me that he sees his heart rate monitor go up, getting so jacked up walking home after the show.
Yeah, because that's when you start to ruminate on this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just there with my thoughts.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Proctor of Frogs, regarding Target, they should be held liable, allegedly, that kid's family for not providing protection to the employee in the state. EEOC should be contacted.
That'd be a good way for some lawyers to make these companies protect their people.
And the final IM of the day, Dagon 396. I am from El Paso, Texas, and I would like to be more involved with local civil rights organizations, but don't know of any. If any listener from down here can help out by dropping some info on the Discord, I would greatly appreciate it. That is a great use of the Discord. So anybody in El Paso or the close environment knows of any type of organizing there, drop it in the Discord. All right, folks. Again, it's majoritydiscord.com. Majoritydiscord.com. Matt, Brian, Emma, great job today, folks. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar. But finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I get somewhere the choice was made, for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive between the 101 and the 5. Do you know how far the detour takes you? Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. The months drifted into years, while I shifted in and out